Yes.
Jen, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kurt?
Slightly annoyed. I'm slightly annoyed that Israel is out in the diaspora. We're Israel, and majority of us don't even know why.
Right.
We don't know what's going on, and we can't seem to lock it down. There's one God. There's one people. There's one kingdom. There's one law. That's it. That's it. And they can't seem to figure this out. And like I'm not an intelligent man, but I can figure this out. Like it doesn't seem too hard. Like Yahuwah's, maybe it's just simple. Like keep it simple. Yahuwah says X and do X. That's it. No strain to the left or strain to the right. It's just stay on this path and don't do anything else.
Yeah, that's kind of like don't worry about anything else either. It makes it simple. And you've read the words, so how hard is that? You figured it out.
And it doesn't matter what group it is. They're all just a little messed up, right? So
completely, yeah.
So we talked about the temple in the last video.
Yeah.
And you can't bring up the temple and do a Google search on it and not see videos or pictures of people by the thousands lining up at the Western Wall and to pray to it. Like what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? People will spend, I mean, on average, it's $3,000 for one person to go to Israel, right? Why are you going there in the first place? Second place, what are you doing when you get there? Are you going to go to the Western Wall to take a picture of it? It's the Anatolia Fortress. It's not the wall of what was the temple. The temple's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And as we discussed before, Yahuwah's not there anymore, but and people write down their prayers and they'll stuff it into the wall.
And they have to clean that out every year. Like
for what?
I don't know. It becomes a big idol, to be honest.
There you go. You done said it. You done said a mouthful right there. Yahuwah's not there, first of all. Second of all, he's not there. And third of all, have no image means even that wall. And so if that was the former location of the Roman Anatolia fortress built by Roman kingdom hands, then you are literally praying and sticking your prayers in the wall of Rome. Rome is now your god. Stop it. Or is it just me?
It seems pretty obvious. I mean, it is a location to go to, and people flock to it by the thousands every year. So what I would encourage people to take a step back and take a look at the big picture. Why are you doing that? What do you believe? Why are you thinking if I go there, then my prayers will be answered, or then he'll really hear me, or I can stick my prayer in there, then it really counts? What? Like, how is that scriptural? It doesn't seem to match up to Yah's words.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So we talked about where they want to build this new temple.
Yeah.
I just want to call it the fake temple. The picture that we put up with the Dome of the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take down the Dome of the Rock, or I've heard other suggestions so that you don't upset the Islams or the Christians. They want to put a Christian church and a Hebrew temple in the same place, like one next to the other, next to the other.
Well, it's got to be fair. Divide it correctly and build properly all the things for all the religions so everyone gets along, right?
Is that what we said to do?
No, but in our culture today, we expect to have peace. We have to placate all the players and have their own type or style of religion, and everyone's represented equally and, make it fair.
What about the Buddhists and the atheists? What do they get? Like, and what about the Krishnas and the the Mormons? What do the Mormons get?
You
I don't know.
keep adding. It's kind of all the same.
It really is. So let's talk about this temple then, the actual temple. And
Oh, the one in Ezekiel?
yes. Hey, let's talk about before we get into that. So we did the video last week on Ezekiel. Well, we did 8 first, then we did 9, 10, and 11, and we talked about Yahuwah's spirit leaving the temple. But 9 starts off with Yahuwah calling for 6 men to come and kill everybody because of all the death that's being caused by the people that are in Jerusalem and Israel and Judah. It's all 12 tribes. Like, y'all are messing up in that area at that time, right? So our question became afterwards, and even mine, when I'm listening back to us do the video, editing and stuff, I'm like, I'm not so convinced that this isn't a future event. Like, okay, if it happens in his 30th year, right, then
Yeah.
he's already in captivity. So what's there to kill people for?
That's the
Unless,
30th year of being in captivity.
right. So armies would have already marched into Jerusalem and captured him,
Yes.
and
So
captured his, right, all the people of that area, and they would have laid waste to the temple anyway.
they did.
So,
Mhm.
and then you start thinking about abortion. You start thinking about all the stuff that the Yahuwah lays out a case for everything that you're doing out there in Israel, the modern Israel, and you're claiming it's his. Like, is this a future event? Like, he's going to lay waste to every man, woman, and child in that country.
Except those who are marked.
Except
Those who
those who,
mourn being being surrounded by the abominations. Yeah.
and he does make mention to us being spread to the four corners of the earth,
Yeah.
that for a little while, I'm your sanctuary where you are,
Yeah.
but then I'm going to call you back to fill this land, right? But he's got to clean it out first. Like, there's too much messiness over there. He can't have that when we go there.
I don't have the whole like timeline concrete and clear, but we get glimpses. We get glimpses in Isaiah and in Jeremiah and again in Ezekiel. And Ezekiel at the end here tells us about that future temple, the future areas of land for the tribes, the future gates on the city, that Yah's name will be the name of the city, just like we had in Isaiah. I mean, just it's so cool that things reflect
And it's
and
not,
match up.
we're going to read it here in a minute, but what it actually says is not even close to what they're planning on building with the human
No.
hands. Like,
Uh-uh.
what's coming is next level, man. It's
Well, and the cool thing here is like Ezekiel is at the gate. Like he's there, it exists, it's already there. We are not told how it's built. And we're told, there's a what is it, a gate for each tribe. We're told he measures out the city, each part of the temple, like all those things are there. We're not told how it's built in Ezekiel. So I don't know. We have a bit of a glimpse of the puzzle here.
so can we safely say that modern Israel is, it's a desert land? Like,
Yeah.
there's no, I think they've attempted to irrigate parts of it,
Oh,
bring water into it to water
they've
it, but
done fantastically. It is beautiful compared to what it was 100 years ago. There's way more cropland and fruit trees and vineyards and everything. They're doing well with what they have. It is flourishing. It is not the lush land that we're promised eventually. I don't see, we're told about Mount Zion that this is going to be on a mountain. I don't know where that would necessarily be located either. So there's some things that don't quite match up. So I'm really not sure.
And if we just go on maps, modern maps,
Yeah.
where stuff is in the territory of Israel is not even close. That little strip of land off the
No.
Mediterranean Sea is
It's not as described in Ezekiel or other places. Like when Abraham is told, hey, this is your land, these are the boundaries. What we have now today does not match that description. So
so
if you're looking at the
let's
historical,
yeah,
traditional part, it's like, oh, it's tiny compared to what it's supposed to be.
right. It would be like comparing Rhode Island to the rest of the mountain. Let's read it and then we'll discuss it because
Okay.
I think this is so much more fun. Like I say the word I'm going to say may offend some people or bother some people, but it's almost like it's magic. You know what I mean? It just happens. Like it's equivalent to Yahuwah saying, "Let there be light," and then there's light. You know?
It's a creation event. Like,
Right.
ta-da, my word is flourishing. Ta-da, what I said, look, it exists. It's real. It's right in front of your face. It's
He can
obvious.
take right. He can form something out of a pile of mud, breathe into it, and it becomes all of humanity. Right.
Yeah.
So how is he not able to do this? Like the glory of God fills the new temple. Okay, remember we said that it can't be him because he's not in the temple, right? And he left the temple. And this is Yahuwah speaking to Ezekiel, showing him, the man took me to the east gate. I saw the glory of Elohim. This is Ezekiel 43. I'm in the Names of God Bible on Bible Gateway. I saw the glory of the Elohim of Israel coming from the east. His voice was like the sound of rushing water, and the earth was shining because of his glory. The vision was like the one I saw when he came to destroy Jerusalem, and like the one I saw by the Chebar River. I immediately bowed down. Yahuwah's glory came into the temple through the east gate. Wait, I thought nobody had seen God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I thought nobody has seen him.
Well, this is a vision, and he is seeing his actual presence come. I was going to mention that this begins in chapter 40. So he says it's the 25th year of the exile. Just to place it, because you know how we're talking about Ezekiel being in order by the year and identified by these timestamps. So
Okay. The rock lifted me and brought me into the inner courtyard. I saw Yahuwah's glory fill the temple. I heard someone speaking to me from inside the temple while the man was standing beside me. The voice said to me, Son of man, this is the place where my throne is and the place where my feet rest. This is where I will live among the Israelites forever. Then the people of Israel and their kings will no longer dishonor my holy name by acting like prostitutes, nor will they dishonor it with the dead bodies of their kings. They put their doorway by my doorway, and their doorpost by my doorpost. Only a wall separated me from them. They dishonored my holy name because of the disgusting things they have done, so I destroyed them in my anger. Now they must stop acting like prostitutes and take the dead bodies of their kings far away from me. Then I will live among them forever. Son of man, describe the temple to the people of Israel. Then they will be ashamed because of their sins. Let them study the plans. Suppose they are ashamed of everything that they have done, and show them the design of the temple, its arrangements, its exits, its entrances, its entire design. Tell them about all its rules and regulations. Then write these things down for them so that they can remember its design and follow all its rules. This is the regulation of the temple, the whole area, all the way around. The top of the mountain is most holy. Yes, this is a regulation of the temple.
I like right there how he equates becoming aware of your iniquities, repenting, and studying the design of this temple. Three very important things.
I'm just going to read this part and then we're going to go find the description of that river. These are the measurements of the altar using royal measurements. why do I want to read this part? Because I have heard it said that Jesus Christ was the final sacrifice, and I'm here to show you it's not. That is a false teaching. These are the measurements of the altar using royal measurements. The royal measuring stick was 21 inches long. The base of the altar was 21 inches high and 21 inches wide. All around the edge of the altar was a rim measuring 9 inches wide. Does your show different measurement in your translation?
Now, these are the dimensions of the altar in cubits, each cubit being a cubit and a handbreadth. Except for the base of 1 cubit wide, the cubit of the ledge's width, and the border pieces upon its edge all around of 1 span each, and this too for the top of the inner altar. For the foundation,
I just want to interrupt that for a second and
it's
say
in
that.
cubits.
So the
Basically.
cubit, we looked it up, and it was the royal cubit, and it depended upon which pharaoh was king at the time, but it was from the tip of the finger to the edge of the elbow. But as we all know, everybody's different. So there's a royal measurement, and it would be based on whichever pharaoh's in charge, which gives you the exact measurement of a cubit.
Yeah.
And I guess how do they know that? They found measuring sticks in Egypt.
Yeah, they still exist.
And they also had hieroglyphics showing how they got these measurements. So
yeah,
there's a lot of information in Egypt for us to dig into.
Right.
And there's a lot of information on Google for all you all to dig into. So you don't have to be like, what does that mean? We should all be curious, right?
Yeah, well, and just digging in and doing your homework. I mean, it's worth it. You've got plenty of information. So it's
Son of man,
interesting.
dig into these walls. Dig into these walls. Break the walls. See what's inside.
Right. Figure it out.
And from the lower edge ledge to the upper ledge, it was 7 feet high and 21 inches wide. So somebody took the time in this version to figure out the translation of measurement between a cubit and a hand width and inches and feet, which is, I appreciate that. The place where the sacrifice was burned was 7 feet high. There was 4 horns above it. It was square, 21 feet wide, 21 feet long. The upper ledge was also square. It was 24 and a half feet long and 24 and a half feet wide. It had a rim all the way around that was 10 and a half inches wide. Its base was 21 inches. The steps to the altar faced east. Then the man said to me, this is how we know Jesus ain't your final sacrifice, man. Then the man said to me, Son of man, this is what Adonai Yahuwah says. These are the rules for sacrificing burnt offerings and for sprinkling blood on the altar after the altar is built. This is Adonai Yahuwah, creator of everything, telling Ezekiel, this is how we do it. Huh? Give a young bull to the priest as an offering of sin. These priests are, what does it say in your translation?
Shall give to the Kohanim, the Levites, who are from the seed of Zadok, who approach me, the word of Yahweh Elohim, to serve me, a young bull for a sin offering.
So unless you're priest.
Specifically of the Levites and specifically of the Zadok line, because they were given that eternal covenant thanks to what Phineas had done.
And we read that in Jeremiah. We read that in Isaiah.
Yeah.
We're now reading it in Ezekiel. And who is this giving this order to Ezekiel? It's Yahuwah. And why? And my question is, why does he have to keep doing this? Oh, because we keep forgetting.
But I love how consistent it is in each of these prophets we've read. Oh, look, you have the same glimpses of the same story. You have the same promise. And Yah is consistent. He keeps his word. His covenant is true. It's true through all these generations. It does not change. So maybe we could count on what he says.
Okay. And on the second day, so I'm skipping down to 22. On the second day, bring a male goat that has no defects as an offering for sin. Remove sin from the altar as you did with the young bull. When you finish removing sin, offer a young bull and a ram that have no defects. Offer them to Yahuwah. The priest must throw salt on them and offer them as a burnt offering to Yahuwah. Every day for 7 days you must sacrifice a goat, a young bull, a ram from the flock as an offering for sin. They must be animals that have no defects. For 7 days the priest should make peace with you, the Lord, it says the Lord, but Yahuwah at the altar, purify it and consecrate it. When those days are over, on the 8th day, the priest must sacrifice burnt offerings and fellowship offerings on the altar. Then I will accept them, declares Adonai Yahuwah. So the idea that Jesus Christ is your final sacrifice is completely negated by this. That is not acceptable to Yahuwah. It would never would. It wouldn't satisfy the requirement. It has
No.
to be a Zadok putting it up on an altar that Yahuwah declares, and it has to be cleansed a specific way, and this has to be offered as the sin offering for all of the history of Israel. Jesus Christ could not die for your sin. That is made up. It's made up. The sacrifice for your sin hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen, and Yahuwah tells you exactly what's required,
Yeah.
right?
And that salt there too is interesting. And where you had like sin, I had purify, and I thought that was super interesting. Like just the differences in words that we have in our translations, and that he's going to accept you with favor.
Yeah.
Chapter 47. Then he returned me to the entrance of the temple, and water was emerging from under the threshold of the temple, going eastward. So we already had said that the stairs were going east and the entrance was east, and here we have the same river. It's all the same direction, going east. The water ran down from under the right side of the temple, south of the altar. Then he took me out through the northern gate and led me around the outside to the outer gate by the way of the gate that faced east. And there was water trickling out from the right side. As the man left to the east with a measuring rod in his hand, he measured 1,000 cubits and led me across the water, ankle-deep water. He measured
And
another
sorry,
1,000.
it says 1,500 feet for every one. It's 1,500 for every 1,000 cubits. Every time you say 1,000 cubits, it says 1,500 feet in mine. So
Oh,
that's what's
cool.
going to be on the screen, just so
Yeah,
people know.
sure. He measured another 1,000 and led me across the water, knee-deep water. He measured another 1,000 and led me across waist-deep water. He measured another 1,000, and it became a stream that I could not cross, for the water had swollen into water for swimming, a stream that could not be crossed. He said to me, Have you seen, O man? Oh, excuse me. Have you seen, O son of man? He then led me and returned me to the bank of the stream. Upon my return, behold, along the bank of the stream were very many trees, on one side and on the other. He said to me, These waters go out to the eastern region. They descend to the Arabah and go to the sea, to the spreading sea, and the water will become sweetened. And it will be that any living thing that will swarm, wherever these streams flow, will live. And the fish will be exceedingly abundant, for these waters will come there, and they will become sweetened, so that the fish may live wherever the stream comes. It will happen that fishermen will stand by it, from the Engedi to the En Galiam. They will be spreading places for nets. Their fish will be as of many species as the fish of the great sea, exceedingly abundant. But its swamps and pools will not become sweetened. They will be set aside to provide salt. Along the stream will grow every species of food tree on its banks, and on one side and the other its leaf will not wither, and its fruit will not fail. Every month it will yield new fruit, for its waters will go forth from the sanctuary, so its fruit will be for food, and its leaves for healing. Thus said Yahweh Elohim, this is the boundary by which you shall allot the land for inheritance to the 12 tribes of Israel, 2 portions for Joseph. You shall inherit the land, each tribe equal to his brother, about which I raised my hand to give it to your forefathers. This land shall become yours as an inheritance. I just think it's super cool that here he's like acknowledging his covenant to all 12 tribes, that he's giving them that land that he has promised them.
And I'm gonna put on the screen what this would actually, these borders would actually look like, because I want to contrast it with the modern Israel. Is not it, dude. We're like,
I don't know where a river flows to the east and then you have a great sea. Like where? Like it's just everything's going to be so changed that this will exist exactly as it's described here, or we don't have the place yet. Like I don't know how to find that on the map today.
like yeah, so to your point, the Mediterranean Sea sits to the west
Right.
of modern Israel. It would be like how California sits in America. It's facing the
To
Pacific
me, this
Ocean.
almost sounds like it's all of Africa. Like, I don't know. But there's no river that I know of that flows to the east either. So it's really hard to almost imagine this.
And I like how it starts with a trickle. It's a little,
Yeah.
and then it becomes this monster flowing river. And 1,500 feet is the equivalent of 5 football fields stacked end to end. It's just one football field is 300 feet, just so you get an idea of how far that is. Pretty big.
Yeah. And a quick change from that trickle to I can't even cross it. I'm at 15 right now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
This is the boundary of the land on the north side from the Great Sea by way of Hethlon to approach to Zadad, Hamath, Berothah, and Sibram, which is between the border of Damascus and the border of Hamath, and Hazarah Hattakon, which is on the border of Haran. The border shall thus go from the sea to Hazra Enon by the border of Damascus, with the northern border extending northward to the border of Hamath. This is the northern side. The eastern side between Haran and Damascus, between Gilead and the land of Israel, the Jordan, you shall measure from the northern border to the eastern sea. This is the eastern side. The southern side southward from Tamar until the waters of Meraboth Kadesh, to the stream, to the great sea. This is the southern side southward, and the western side, the great sea, from the southern border until opposite the approach to Hamath. This is the western side. You shall divide this land among yourselves according to the tribes of Israel. It shall be that you shall allot it as an inheritance for yourselves and for the strangers who dwell among you, who will bear the children in your midst. They shall be for you like the natives among the children of Israel. They are to be allotted an inheritance among you, among the tribes of Israel. It shall be that the tribe within which the stranger has settled, there shall you allot his inheritance. The word of Yahweh Elohim.
So there he is talking about the stranger.
Yeah.
He's talking about a birthright to the land. Huh.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the natural born and the stranger and everybody who's doing what he says to do.
Yeah.
You're Israel. Like you get part of this land.
I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that Joseph has 2 portions. I think it's amazing that each of these tribes are given land and that the covenant is extended to the strangers that also settle within their land. I think that's amazing. You're still having children. You're living in the land. Yah is there with his presence. I mean, that is just incredible.
I mean, so there's a couple things that keep in mind. I guess the biggest question is Yahuwah a liar? Is he known to
Never.
not tell the truth?
Mm-mm.
So if he says, and he tells us continuously, that I am going to bring you back,
Yeah.
and when I do, I'm going to put a new. I keep reading people talk about this new covenant. No, I'm going to do something new and put it into your heart so that you
Oh,
will no longer break my rules. Okay,
yes.
you're going to follow my rules, and that
Yeah.
will not include worshiping Jesus. Sorry, I'm really sorry for those of you who just want to hold on to that so hard.
I know it's a tough one.
Because if we need to do one final sacrifice to cleanse the altar and for then Yahuwah would accept us, then Jesus wasn't it. That's a
Yeah.
lie. That's a
Right.
lie, right? So you got a problem right there. If you
And that
worship
this
it,
is future. Like you can't apply this to way back when because this hasn't happened yet.
no, no, and gosh,
So
there's a whole
that's
bunch of
where the stories just don't line up and the stories cannot both be true. And like we've got to drop the lies and take up what is true and look at what his words really are. That's a huge difference right there.
right, and then there's this group out here in the world talking about some rapture thing. That's
Oh,
not true. In fact,
well,
I would be remiss in saying that we should probably do a video on the history of the rapture
yeah,
because it will blow your mind where it
yeah.
actually comes from. Unless you want to do the research yourself, but
We always encourage people to do their own homework.
this this verses we're reading right here and
Mm,
the prophecies of Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel all point to the same thing.
yeah.
And if you need a witness to establish a matter between two or three, here it is. Our understanding of the God of Israel, based on religious leaders trying to tell us what the text says, is it's just crap and it's wrong.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
doesn't line up
it's
at all.
what will it lead to? It will lead to people gathering at the wall of a Roman Anatolia fortress and
Yeah,
praying to it,
yeah,
hoping for a result. That's not what Yahuwah, the God of Israel, says to do at all.
yeah. And
So
this
go ahead.
and the story that we've been told, like there's tribes left out at the end. And like that's not what this says. This one literally mentions each tribe, the land it's given, the portion are all equal, that there's a gate for each tribe. Like it's incredible that here he's establishing exactly again that his name is going to be on the city of Jerusalem. We won't call it Jerusalem anymore. It'll be that Yah is there. And I think that's just an incredible ending when we've read before in Isaiah that he will love you and restore your fortunes and like you're going to live well. And that is not the story we've been told. We haven't been told that the righteous are the ones that are marked, that it's just so different.
I find it super interesting. Okay, we know that Yahuwah established the beginning, the end from the beginning, right? He
Yeah.
laid it all out. Then he
Yeah.
shows Moshe, okay, and
Yeah.
Moshe sees it, and then he's showing these prophets how
Yeah.
stuff is going to happen, right?
Right.
And I don't think it's any mistake that Yahuwah put in there that there has to be a final sacrifice for the entire
Mm,
sin of the nation of Israel from the beginning to the end,
mm,
right? That's going to occur because I know that you people are going to talk about something else that's not the truth. I'm
right.
going to tell. This is Yahuwah telling Ezekiel what has to happen, and
Not even
this is
just
how.
telling him, but showing him. Like he sees
Right.
it in a vision, whereas the other prophets were told, I have a word from Yah. They're given the story and they write it down. And thankfully, we have their words. Ezekiel sees it with his own eyes. That's
And,
so
and,
cool.
and Moshe saw this all with his own
Yeah.
eyeballs, and he's like, guys, I can imagine Moshe seeing this kingdom
Yeah.
and saying, "Look, you guys have no idea what's in front of you. Will you just please just choose righteousness? Will you
Please choose
just
life.
please, yeah, choose life? Because
Yeah.
what's at the end of this is, dude, the description of that river that
Yeah.
just gives life, and like you think about the desert being dead, and
Yeah.
wow,
You'd
Wow.
have an abundance of fish, an abundance of fruit trees. Like, I don't have a tree that produces fruit every month. It's every season. Like, I have apples in the fall, or I have pears in September, but I don't have a fruit tree that has fruit every month. And that the leaves are for healing, and you have plenty of fish, and you even have pools for salt. I think that is so cool that he provides the salt, because here he said in these offerings, you must have salt. And he's like, well, here you go. Here's where the salt is. It's so incredible.
It makes it seem, and I've heard people say this, the mean God of the Old Testament. Is he? Is he really mean? I don't think so. I think
He's very
we're
merciful to
right.
wait
We're
for
stubborn. We're
so
stiff.
many generations to finally establish his kingdom.
But I guess, look, this is a hard pill to swallow for some people.
It's so different. It's such a different story.